Okay, hopefully the audio is working. Well, you got to say recordings in progress. I can hear myself. Not a bad delay on that. Was that you?
Yeah.
Okay. So the server is kind of locked right now, so you guys can't log into it so that we can record this video. So we finished off with 2 domains equal 1. Is everybody there? So everybody's got a secondary domain controller. So let's double check, make sure you guys have the screenshot. I'll just show it in here really quick. If I don't think I had it in the video because I don't think I finished, did I? So I'm on DC2. I don't think you can see the top of the screen. Yeah, of course. So let me full screen this. That wasn't full screen, was it? I needed not full screen, but exclusive. There we go. So I'm on, that's DC1 right there. It doesn't matter which one, because Active Directory isn't a computer. Active Directory is, it's an entity pretty much. So I'm going to go to Active Directory users and computers up here in Server Manager. And if I go to users and computers under, this is our domain right here. So now we have all these tools as we install the Active Directory. And this one right here that says domain controllers, there should be DC1, DC2. That would be your screenshot to prove that you completed the 2 domains equal 1, because 2 domain controllers equal this 1 domain right here. That way, if 1 goes down, 2's doing it, or if 2 goes down, 1's doing it. Unfortunately, since all of our computers, including our host, is on the same computer right now, all of our stuff's on one, it's in one basket. So that server goes down, we're screwed, right? So in real practices, DC1 would be a physical computer, and the DC2 could be on a virtual machine anywhere else on another computer on your network, just for some redundancy. And probably on 2 different power supply backups. So that is your screenshot right there. It doesn't matter if it's DC1 or DC2. I just want to see that your name's up here. You know, you're in your computer or something that proves it's yours, and take a screenshot of this. So I will close that, and we're gonna do the fun stuff today. Well, what I consider fun. Let me see if I can get on my machine. There we go. So over here, we're getting, we already did mic check. Mic check was just the peening back and forth, making sure we can communicate between DC2 and DC1, right? So we covered that in the previous video. I wasn't sure, do you guys think it should be right here, or should I put it up here? No, it's in between Domania 2 and 2 domains equal 1. That's the right spot, right? Because Domania 2 was doing DC1, 2 domains equal 1 was DC2, and we had to create DC2 to do mic check. Well, we had to at least install the bare bones computer, right? And then we did mic check. We saw that if we were on the wrong network, we can't ping DC1 once we went on to the right network, i.e. either the right IP address or on the internal switch instead of the external switch, then you can actually talk. And then you also had to make sure your DC1 was on too, right? Because you can't talk to a computer that's not on. Not pointing any fingers. Okay. So today we're gonna do magic pixies. You guys remember anything about Pixie Boot or Pixies that your book talked about? Hey, there's no, oh, there's an example. Nobody? You know, when a lot of you guys were booting into your system and you forgot and you didn't hit the push any key to boot off of your CD, and then it went into another boot thing where it was booting off the network, and you went in there and then eventually it asked you for a username and password. That was WDS, and that was doing Pixie Boot into that so that you can actually install the operating system across the network without needed media on your computer itself. So when you hear light touch installation, you're going to refer light touch to WDS, Windows Deployment Services. That's what it usually means if they're talking about light touch. You answer a couple questions and then it carries on and does the rest for you. So how we had our machines generalized, and maybe we did updates and we preset up some software or something in there before we generalized it. If you do it in that state and generalize it, you can also set up so WDS can capture that system with all the changes you made, so you can deploy a system that's ready to go to a whole bunch of other computers. The reason why we would do that is say you just got like 60 new Dell computers. They're all the same make and model. and you don't want to put a USB drive or a CD in each one of those computers and install one at a time, right? So we can set up one computer, do all the updates on it, make sure the system is fully functional and ready to go. Also, you might have to hunt down some drivers that might not work. Once you have those drivers in there, we could system prep it, capture it with WDS, and then we can deploy that. We can name it and say what it is and what systems that's in reference to, and actually deploy that onto the network. And we can do staggered deployments. We can do a broadcast deployment. There's many different ways we can do it. Our basic one is we're just going to do a simple version of FTP to send it out there. So I'll go through that in the settings when we actually have the check boxes in front of us. But that's what we're going to do. And the screenshot we're going to be looking for today, if this is all up to date in here, is this is actually showing us DHCP. So that's going to tell us one of our requirements for Pixie boot is to have a DHCP server. That's also why we're on our internal network and or a private network, because I don't want your DHCP servers on my network here handing out IP addresses, because what's going to happen is you'll hand out an IP address, and then whoever grabs your IP address is not going to have internet. And they're not going to have access to Tech House 1, Tech House 2, Tech House X3, which also looks like Tech House X3 for some reason. But it'll take you off of the network that our students and everyone are on, and it'll just mess up the whole system. So we need to make sure you are on your internal network when we put DHCP on, because we don't need to have a rogue DHCP server on our network. So I will scroll down a little bit more. And it looks like this one is just showing the server that actually has it installed on it. If you see in here, you actually see WDS right here. So this is showing that our network says all servers, WDS, and then over here it's actually saying what server has WDS on it. So that's what's kind of cool about this, is if I went down there and clicked on WDS, it's only going to show the servers that have WDS deployed on them. In the screenshot, it has all servers, and then we can see in the left-hand corner that we do have WDS, because it's actually an option down here. So we'll probably do a better screenshot than that, where we just click on WDS and then WDS shows us which server it's actually attached to and online and everything. So let's get started. And I don't think we're missing. Let me go back one. So yeah, and we'll do pass remote after that. So get that out of the way. So let's do it. So it doesn't matter which computer we're on right now. So let me make this full screen. So since we have Active Directory, we can pretty much manage any computer as long as they're domain joined at this point. So let me take this to the exclusive. So pass the remote. Actually, let's put pass the remote in here right now. I'm going to move it up to in front of Magic Pixies. So the cool thing about this server manager is I can manage all the servers. So if I come over here to all servers, it's only going to show me one server over here, right? DC1, because I'm on DC1 at this time. And it gives me my IP address. Is it online? And there's this performance counter. Do any of you know what performance counter from doing your use certify? What's performance counter do? No guessing? No one knows? I smell the gears burning. So performance counter is pretty much showing you what resources are being used throughout the day and when your peak hours are. So say you have a web server on here and you have the most traffic at noon. It's going to tell you, hey, at this time of day, you're using this much RAM or using this much processor power. And if you're over like 80 or 90%, you might want to have a load balancing server or another one with the same features on it. So if this one's getting bogged down and it can't handle the workload, another server can kick on and take over that workload. Or maybe it's just telling you, hey, you should probably put more RAM in this computer or more processor power or upgrade it, right? So if your server can't handle its only job of being a server, it's your waiter, right? It's bringing your stuff that you need that you're asking for. If it can't do that in a timely manner, you probably want to get more servers or a better server, right? It's just like when you go to a restaurant and you wait forever for someone to come to take your order, and then they forget your order and you say it again, like, oh, I'm sorry, try again. Well, that's kind of about the same as a server being overworked for here. Is it's not going to bring you what you're asking for. It's not going to connect you. It's not going to authorize you if it's overworked. So performance counter is a good thing to turn on. So I'm going to just right click on my online performance counter here. I'm going to go start performance counter. And what this is going to do, it's actually going to start logging from this point on how much RAM I'm using, what's stressing out. Is the processor doing too much work? Is the RAM doing too much work? Or does the hard drive being overworked and it can't keep up? So it's just giving us pretty much a logged system monitor is really all you can think of that as. So right now I just have DC1. So the easy way to add is I can right click on all servers right here. I can also come up the task. Well, not task, underneath it. Oh, now it's mad at me. All right, I'm not gonna let it get mad at me. I'm gonna go this way since it seems to be working. So I was gonna right click on all servers and click add a server. So you can use DNS, you can use import where you have all the information. Since we have Active Directory and I only have one server on here, I can just hit find now, it'll find everything on here. So I can see I have DC2 option right here. I probably should have capitalized it when I named it, but I didn't. So I'm gonna click on that. And all I do is hit this arrow right here and it puts it over here. I can do more than one if I wanted, or I can do from different, if we have like other child domains in here, we could do them also. So when you have your administrator computer going, like you have your little laptop you run around and you do all your work on it, you probably want to have your server manager on there with all the servers you're in charge of so you can, hey, log on there and start managing it from here. So I'm going to hit OK, and it's going to add it right here. So as long as there's nothing wrong with the network card, which there could be because the server went out 3 times yesterday on us, and I haven't actually done my checklist since I looked in here. So we'll see if I have an issue. Let me take this back to exclusive mode. So get this out of full screen. So over here, see, I have a problem, right? It says unidentified network. So luckily this worked. But some of my other services might not work because something is hung up on my network card right now. So I can go through local server. Now, what you guys were doing before is you were like right clicking here and going to it, but there's a little problem going this direction, or at least there used to be, probably because this 2022 now might not have the problem. But if you try to go this way after putting an Active Directory on here, it will not work. So I'll go here, change adapter options, and usually an error message pops up. They might have fixed it. It looks like it's working now. Crazy. So in 2016, if you did that going this way, it would just say insufficient rights, no privileges. In this case, it didn't do it, but if that does happen to you, it might be because you're in 2016 or 2000 or 2019 version of server. So it looks like they fixed it in this version. So we had to go the other way prior. So we would go through local server over here and just click on it and get to it the same way. So why this right here? Now it's showing domain.local. Weird, right? So just for safety sakes, I'm going to do disable and enable really quick. But it's usually my first indicator something might be wrong is when that's saying unidentified network, when we know it should say domain.local. So just get paranoid and make it a habit of checking that. So we can go back into here. So on all servers, I now have DC1, DC2. Even though I am not logged on to DC2, I'm on DC1 right here. I can right click on DC2 and tell it to, hey, start performance counters. And that actually went quicker than doing it on DC1, didn't it? So now that they're on that, now I can actually manage it and I can see if they have resources that we need to look at. So when you go to your dashboard, I don't see any bad things. Some people were freaking out because they saw events. Most of these events are just your computer turned off. So you see critical Microsoft kernel power. That just means your computer was turned off. Remember, servers aren't meant to be turned off. They're not meant to be restarted. So that's why each time you do it, it wants you to document it, right? It says, is this a planned or an unplanned? And is it planned? Is it a hardware change or what? So it wants you to document it so we can log why that server went down. So I will close that for now. On local server, scrolling down, we now have our performance monitor right here. Since I just did it, there's not information in here. It says on, waiting for data. So once this runs for a few hours, it'll start showing you a graph of your memory being used, what percentage, and then your CPU usage right here. So right here it says CPU threshold 85%, and it's got memory threshold 2 megabytes. So And you can add tasks here. You can configure performance alerts. So say it gets to a certain amount of usage, it'll send you an email saying, hey, you might want to check this server. It's maxing out on CPU. So besides having too much traffic to your server, what would this also be a good indicator of? Can you think of anything? What this could also kind of help tell you there's something wrong on here? You can guess, it's okay. Well, that's what it's monitoring, but what could this like be kind of a trigger, a warning for? If what? This won't tell us if it's overheated. It just shows us CPU usage and memory. So if you get a virus, you're probably gonna have a lot more CPU usage, right, than normal. And if you look at like your CPU usage versus your traffic on that server, looking at two logs, you might want to like, hey, this is abnormal because it's not being used that much, and now my CPU is going crazy. So if a virus or something gets on it, this might be a precursor that, hey, there's a virus doing something or using up all my CPU, or maybe someone put a Bitcoin miner on your server and they're hammering your CPU, and no one's actually using the server. So there's a lot of things going on from just this data going out of whack that could tell you, hey, maybe something's not right here. This graph is not normal. I only had this much traffic on Saturday, and every Saturday I have this much traffic. Was there something different? Because why is it maxed out? So if there was no traffic to it, you might want to start looking deeper into it. So I know that might be like, reaching a little bit, but it's a good indicator if that's happening. If you don't have any traffic and no one's actually using the server for services, and yet everything's maxing out. And like you said, it can be overheating, thermal throttling. It can just be hardware dying too, right? So if hardware starts to die, it's going to start using other, like it's going to start making the other sticks of RAM do more work than the previous. We have different ways where RAM works in the server as per what's in front of you. There's round robin. So just like your RAID hard drives, there's also like a RAID version for memory where maybe you have 512 gigabytes of RAM, where you're really only using 200 of it, and then the other stuff's in reserve. So if one memory stick fails, it rolls over to a good one and deactivates that one memory stick. So you don't get that option in a regular tower PC, but on a server PC you will. And when you guys do Server Plus, you'll go more into that and the technical terms for it. But this is a spot that can tell you if there is something going wrong. So what I'm supposed to be doing right now is our Magic Pixies. And it's Magic Pixies because we're going to be installing over the network. And I want to do this on DC2. But we're going to kind of cheat with past the remote. Let's see if we can just nail some screenshots for that right now. So let me pull. I need to do full screen on that and then bring it over here. And it makes it look like it's in front of this one that's full screen. So going down, I'm going to click on past the remote here. I believe it's just adding the other servers to this. Where's my picture? And I have a picture. It's a really crappy example if there's no picture in it, guys. I guess we're going to make it up as we go. I don't see a picture. X-nay. All right, back to crack. So what service do we need if we're going to do WDS? Or what services do we need? We already have Active Directory. Yeah, you actually don't need Active Directory for it to work, though. Starts with a D, ends with a P. It's okay to feel stupid. So stupid means you know there's something you shouldn't do and you do it anyways. So I don't think you should feel stupid. I mentioned it earlier. What do we need to have WDS work? What services or server do we need? He's thinking, he's thinking. So if I had a computer on our network right now that didn't have a static IP, what would it get right now for an IP address? What type of IP address would it get? DHCP is the right answer for the previous question. So since we don't have DHCP right now on our network, we would get in a PIPA, right? Our computer, if it doesn't have a static IP address, would get the 169.254, right? So we don't want that. We don't want to go put static IPs on everything on our network, right? So we need DHCP, and then we also need WDS services put on it, right? WDS cannot work without a DHCP server on your network. So first, let's put our, I'll do the DHCP on here. And remember, don't do two at one time because it might do them out of order and break everything. So I'm just going to go role based. Everything's the same as before, but this time I want to do it on DC2 and I'm on DC1. So I said, let's do this to DC2. And you'll see it right at the top here under device health attestation. I can't say that word. Anyone want to say that word for me? ATTESTATION. Attestation. I can't say it. Well, we're using this one anyway, so it doesn't matter. So we're gonna do DHCP. It says it needs these tools for it to work. So we're doing the role, and we need the tools to manage it. So I'm gonna say add features, and that's all you got to do there. Now later, we're also gonna need to do WDS, which is the second to the bottom right here. But we're not gonna do that now because we want to do these in order. So DHCP, I'm gonna hit next. And I'm just gonna next my way through this. And restart if needed. I don't believe it needs restarted, but I'm gonna restart it anyways, just because when I make changes like this, I prefer to know everything's is taken and that the GPOs or whatever it needs for this stuff to run actually sets in. So we have had it in the past where DHCP doesn't install properly and it doesn't let you do its form of promotion. In this instance, you need to commit it. So you're gonna get married here, okay? You just join the Space Force and now you're getting married. So if you die, then you get to support your wife and her new husband. That's why we do checkpoints, so you don't have to do that, right? Or girlfriend, I don't know. This shouldn't take too long since I kicked you guys all off the server, so. Is the sound okay when you guys were watching the videos previously from this mic? Okay. I usually use my Yeti X microphone, which filters out a lot of ambient noises and stuff. Woohoo, it's almost done. So it definitely goes in the notes, right? We need DHCP for WDS. DHCP is our ticket. Like if you go to the DMV and you pull a number, that's your number right there. That's who you are. When we call on you, you answer, right? That's all the IP address. This is your number. This is who you are. This is your social security number. Well, technically your MAC address is your social security number, right? Because your IP address can change like your address to your house or like your phone number to your phone. But it's just a way, hey, I know if I dial this number, I can get in touch with you. If I send you mail, it's going to this address. So we can think of a PIPA kind of as tin cans with strings attached. Cool. So you see right here, it says complete DHCP configuration right here. I can click there and I also have a flag right here that says the same thing. Complete it. So if you close that and forget to click on that, it's up here too. So I'm going to click on the one right here because we haven't done that yet. And this is where it says the following steps will be performed to complete the configuration of DHCP server on the target computer. Create the following security groups for delegation of DHCP server administration. So that means you can create a DHCP administrator and a DHCP user. So authorize DHCP server on target computers if domain joined. Keyword, if domain joined. It is domain joined, so we're good. We just leave this as is. It just says domain administrator. We have credentials to do this. And see right here, commit You also have the option alternative credentials or skip Active Directory authorization. We could run a DHCP server that's not attached to an Active Directory if you wanted. I'm going to hit commit and hopefully nothing goes wrong here. I hit it, but it's like being grumpy with me. Okay. It looks like it's done. So I'm going to hit close on this. This is because when I restarted the computer, it was mad at me earlier. It wants me to document it. I said, hell no. All right. So now that I have active, well, DHCP on this computer right here, can I manage it from here? Can I get on there and set up the DHCP that needs to be set up? It's on. See right here, it says manageability online. And if I come over here, now it says DHCP here. If I click on that, it's going to show the server that has DHCP on it. If I scroll down, it also shows me its performance monitor. See? So it knows if that server is being lagged out. It's like, hey, I probably need another DHCP server. If that server's only job is DHCP and it's over 85% workload, which you should never have because all DHCP is handing out a ticket and say, hey, this is you for 8 days. Have a good day. So if I want to manage it from DC1, I should be able to, right? Here's some sarcasm in my voice there, though, right? If I go up to tools. Do you see any DHCP stuff in my tools here? So you remember those features it was added after I picked the role on DC2 when I was installing it? Well, I don't have those tools installed on this computer that I am on right now. So I actually can't manage it. I can remote into it and do it, but I don't want to do that, right? All I want to do is make this as simple for myself to manage as possible. So we're going to add those tools to our DC1. We're not going to add the role of DHCP to it, but we are going to add the tools to manage DHCP. So, or, you know, the MCC, your snap-ins, that's what we're adding is with a snap-in that can actually manage that. So I'm going to go back up to manage. I'm going to say add roles and features. I'm just going to next my way. But this time I'm doing it on DC1. And here you see, you know, 10.0.0.2, 10.0.0.1, our naming scheme, DC1, DC2. So it makes it easy for you to remember who is who, either by this and that. So you have a built-in DNS in your brain, right? This should equal this. And also see how it says DC1.domain.local. So that name right there, that's a fully qualified domain name. That's what that is. Instead of just searching DC1, you can also type DC1.domain.local and hit that computer. So I'm just going to hit next. I'm making sure I'm on DC1 this time. I'm not going to install DHCP on DC1, but I'm going to install the tools to manage it on DC1. So I'm going to flip over. I don't need a role. I'm not doing the role, but I do need the management tools. So now I'm in features. This is the first time we're doing just a feature. So I'm going to scroll down here and see this one that says remote server administration tools, 4 of 44 installed. If I drop that down, it says role administration tools for 27. Drop that down again. And here's our Active Directory domain services. Since that's all we have installed on this computer, that's what we have for management tools for that. We also have DNS server tools, which is how we can manage our DNS on here. But what we want is our DHCP, right? So right here, DHCP server tools. I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to just hit next. Restart if needed. I'm not going to need the restart on this computer. I'm going to say yes. And install. Now, while I'm waiting for that, I can close this. It's not going to stop it from doing that. So I have DC2 because I'm clicking on DHCP here. What I want to do, remember I told you I like to restart the computer if I made a change to it, right? So I'm just going to say restart that server because it didn't restart. And I don't have to go to it. I can say right click and restart it from here. I'll say okay. And at this point, that server should be restarted. Let me get this back in exclusive mode so I can get to the top of my window here. And I'm going to minimize DC1 really quick. And if we look at DC2, it is restarting. So this is DC2 and it's restarting. They opened up two of them though. And I don't need enhanced on this. So that's doing its thing. But I don't need to be in it, right? Bye-bye. Let me go back to my DC1. So right now it says it's offline. It is not manageable at this point, right? It's still turning on. Once it can talk to it, it'll say online under manageable. So as I'm waiting for that, I'm going to go to my local server, which is just stuff that's on my server here. And if I go up to tools, it should be done now. See, I have DHCP now. So I'm going to wait for my other server to come online. And you can hit refresh, and that should, once it's up, this should say online right here. I think I set mine to do refreshes every minute. And that was just, if you don't remember how to do that, I went up here to manage and server manager properties. And right here, you can change when it refreshes. Some of you might see an error message pop up on the flag where it says failed to refresh. Yeah, it doesn't do it very good. So sometimes you have to manually do it anyway. Looks like we're online now. It says it's manageable and online. So I'm gonna go up to my tools up here, or I could just right click on it. I could just right click on this and go to DHCP manager. Isn't that kind of weird though? It says DHCP manager there, but up here on tools, it just says DHCP. Weird, right? So I'm going to go to that. I'm going to click on DHCP manager. It should open it up automatically. So it says DHCP, DC2, domain.local. So it says, hey, this is the one that has DHCP on it. So in your use certified, did it have you set up DHCP? So I'll show you something if they didn't fix it. If you right click this, see how everything's grayed out? If you drop the arrow and then right click on it, it's not grayed out anymore. But check this out. I bring the arrow back up and right click on it. It's still not grayed out. Thank you, Microsoft, for doing shitty code. So if you click on it, it's not there. It's not letting me click on it. Well, drop it like it's hot, then right click on it. So this, it has IPv6, IPv4 right there. We're not going to set up IPv6. And if I right click on that again, we're going to be in the same scenario. Grayed out, drop it down, no longer grayed out, and more options, right? And once again, if I bring it back up, I still have my options. So remember, if you're right clicking and it does that, that's why. Lily just walked in with green tea from Starbucks. Uh-oh, no straws. They probably burnt in that fire yesterday. Freaking paper straws. How do I drink this without a straw?
I don't know. Do we have a straw somewhere?
I'm about to tear up a pen and use it as a straw. I see a dirty straw over there. But,
I mean, it's your somebody.
yeah, but I don't know what's living in it. There should be a paper towel roll over there somewhere.
It's an organized mess.
All right. So you guys should have done a setup at DHCP, right? What's the thing you had to set up on it? What was it called? I wonder if that burp got picked up on the microphone. So we're about to hand out some IP addresses. We need to know what IP addresses and what range. So what's that called? You can wash your mouth with it too. And they're non-related. Not Listerine, but the green one. Tick tock, tick tock. I need some cricket sound effects, guys. Or get Mr. Richard over here. He can do his little bird sounds. The scope ring a bell? We need to set up a scope. So if I right click on IPv4, it says new scope. So we're in new scope. That's what we're looking for. And if you don't see that and it's grayed out, remember, hit this arrow right here. Then you can right click on it and new scope. So welcome to the new scope wizard. This wizard helps you set up a scope for distributed IP addresses to computers on your network. To continue, click next. Hey, next. So what do I want to name the scope? I am just gonna call this scope. Call it workstations. Description. I give out scopes, yo. It doesn't matter what you put right here. Oh, it's not scopes though, right? I give out IP addresses. You don't have to put this. Is that close enough? Is there two Ds and addresses? It doesn't matter. Next. All right, so we're using on our two servers, we've used 10.0.0.1 and .2, right? So we probably don't want to hand out IP addresses in that range. There's two ways we can handle this. We could put that in this range here, and then later we can put it as where it leaves that out. So it says do not hand out IP addresses between this and this range. There's two ways we can do that. Or we just not include it in the first place. So just for our training purposes, we'll do it so we have them both in here. So I will do my starting IP address at 10.0.0.1. That's the beginning of how we're going to hand out IP addresses. But that's if I'm going to do that for servers, right? So sorry, I had to take a drink and start coughing. So say I want to designate this as just for workstations. I might want to do maybe that, like workstations are .1.1 or .1.0 is what, you know, or .1.xx, whatever we're going to put there. And I don't know why I keep coughing now. She spiked my green teeth. So let's actually do a .1.1 here. So that if we're doing our Windows 10 deployments after this, they're gonna get a 10.0.1.1. So this could be like my room. I could say .2 is Richard's room, .3 is Yvonne's room, and maybe that can correlate with their room numbers in front of their door, you know. I can also say, hey, a .1 is a workstation, .0 is a server, .3 is a printer. So I can actually make these numbers mean something to me and mean something to people who are working under me. So if someone's looking at Wireshark on our network and there's something that's just insanely broadcasting and doing a broadcast storm on your network, they go, oh, well, this is coming from 10.0.52.3. Well, that 5.2 should mean something to me, right? Or if it's a number that's not even in my range, it means there's someone's probably got a rogue server on there or someone's trying to attack my network. So I could ban that on my routers, on my firewall, on whatever my intrusion detection system is running on my network. And you guys probably learned intrusion detection is not intrusion prevention. It's just, hey, someone's breaking into your house. Have fun with that. Kind of like your Ring camera. Hey, I got the guy on video, but the cops ain't gonna do shit with it. Yeah, you want that security guard sitting right there shooting people as they kick your door in, right? Drag them in there and make sure they don't get out. Same with your computers. I mean, castle law. All right. So our end IP address is just what's the end of the scope we can hand out. So if we need to know how many computers we're going to have on our network, right? Because we don't want to say, oh, we're going to hand out 25 IP addresses and they're good for 8 days. What if I have more than 25 computers? The 26th computer is going to get a PIPA, isn't it? No IP address for you. I don't know who you think you are, but you ain't getting one for me. So we didn't take that into account when we're setting up our scopes. So in this case, I'm just going to give a 255 at the end. So I'm going to do 10.0.1.255. I'm doing that because that gives me a lot of IP addresses, and I shouldn't run out at least. And I can add a super scope. I can add a multi-scope. So if I do run out, I can attach a new scope in there if we're expanding and getting bigger, or we come back in here and modify this. So, but at least I'm leaving the whole .0, like 10.0.0.xx for servers and stuff. So that should be more than enough for your basic setup. And again, we can also break this up per router too. We can break up each rooms with a router and make so they can't see other network resources on our network, like you guys see an accountant across the parking lot right here. So people only need to see what resources that they need to do the bare minimum for their job, including students. So down here, you'll see length. So, I mean, some of you might be an 8 in class. I know I'm not gifted like that, but we have 255. What does this mean? When it says length, which is not a terminology you guys learned in A+, but you have seen subnet mask. So if you see that subnet mask, what can you guess that 8 actually is? Yes. So CIDR, you guys remember CIDR? This is a /8 CIDR right here. So /8 means 8 bits from left to right have been turned on, and that value is 255. So if you guys don't remember what the value of bits are, check out this cheat. Oh crap, 7 bits is 254, 6 bits is 252. And going all the way down, 1 bit should be 128, right? So 128, 224, it's just adding the values of those bits from left to right. Those are really the only things you need for subnet, unless you're subnet in a subnet, right? Supernetting. So once I get to my 9th bit, I'm now into the next octet. That's a 1, right? So if someone tells you, oh, you need to do a /30 CIDR, well, okay, done. But they don't call it a CIDR. They just call it length from left to right, how many bits are turned on each, So that's all that means right here. So by default, it's going to give us the 8. Not, I don't know what just happened there. I hit 8 and it gave me 31. Why can't I delete the 1? It wants me to use these. There we go. So by default, 8 bits right there, 255. So and that is what we're using. We're using a class A subnet mask, right? So we're good to go there. But that's what that means. And if you don't remember what the values are, open that up and cheat, write them down, make your Sunny tables. Because it just uses those exact numbers right there, right? So yeah, I'm probably really rusty on doing the stuff writing it down right now because I haven't done it since I was teaching A+ and Network Plus. But I like this because it kind of explains what you guys were learning, but this is actually physically using it now. So anything that has this and is within the range that these add up to, we can't use. Those are locked to the network. Those are numbers. If there's a 10, I can't, if I change this 10, it's a different network. It's not my network. I can't talk to it without a router. So these ones we can use this, this, and this. So that's why we can use these numbers. You can say location, job, or location in the building, and then the IP address we're handing out. Because that's like giving a class C per whatever devices we're using on that, using those numbers for. So you probably won't see places in the field doing that, but when I build a network, that's how I like to do it because it makes sense to me since I'm dyslexic. So I need to see patterns. If things aren't in a pattern, I don't see them. If things are like logical, like just run together, I get so confused because I need to see it running like water flows. So I'm going to hit next. That's, again, just think of length. Say in your notes, just do length /CIDR, and that's what you get. And then bit values is your subnet mask. So I'm going to hit next. So here it says add exclusions and delay. So I can delay handing these IP addresses out. So you see it says subnet delay in milliseconds. So maybe it takes a while to hand out an IP address, or someone's trying to bomb asking you for IP addresses. They can DDoS you doing requests. So old DDoSes used to be you just ping someone to death, right? Ping to death, plasma cannon and stuff like that. The new way people DDoS you is they do an ACK. They want, hey, give me an IP address. You give them that IP address, a request for it, but you never acknowledge you received it, and you just keep asking for more, asking for more, asking for more. Where your computer, that computer's still waiting for an answer. This guy's ear up against the wall waiting for you to answer. And if you just keep on asking for your IP address, and it keeps it here, you can have this one, you can have this one, you can have this one. You have a bunch of computers doing it at the same time. You'll take that network down in no time because it's still sitting there trying to listen, and you're not responding. So it's kind of like when I have someone in class and I ask them, hey, here's a question you want to answer, and you're just sitting there not responding. Yeah, you're DDoSing me, you rude motherfuckers. I'm fired. Sorry again. But you know what I mean, right? So we said that we're going to probably use the 10.0.0.1 or at least the .0.xx range for servers or maybe devices and stuff that are going to have static IP addresses. So let's just make it so those can't get handed out at all. So we can say 10, and this has to be within the scope that I set previously. It can't be outside of it. So I'm going to say 10.0.0.1 because we can't hand out .0 anyways because that's our network, right? The first bit and the last bit is network, and the last one says, hey, this is an IP address range. And then over here, I just say 10.0.0.255. It says I'm out of range. So what I need to do is like 254, right? And it's still mad at me. So where am I messing up here? Oh, so I just, why can't I do that? Yep, so I'm not even in that range anyways, right? So I don't even have to worry about it right here. If I went back and I made this .0, that .0, and then go next, we'll see if it'll give me the 5.5 here. Now, since it's within that range, now it says, okay, I can exclude it. So I kind of like to play dumb every now and then just so you can see the error message, like, why is it not working? What a lot of students do and make a mistake is they will not put their, well, no, they won't. They will put their full scope in here also on this page. So they'll say, hey, I have this whole range, and then it'll be, oh, and you also excluded the whole range, so you're not gonna hand out IP addresses in the first place. Isn't that what I just did? I just made that mistake really quick, didn't I? 10.0.0.1, well, that's actually the range I put here. So I probably want to change this to a 1. So I can still hand out 10.0.1 through 255, but it won't hand out anything in the .0.1 range. So if I would have left it how I had it with a 0 here, we'd be at the very end and we'd be like, why everything's in there, right? But it's not working. That's why. So now I won't hand out IP addresses between 0.1 and 0.255, but I will anything after that. So that looks good. I'm going to hit next. So our lease duration. So don't get too complicated with what this is. Like how many of you like have an apartment or rent something? Like if you're renting that apartment, you have a lease duration, right? At least for like 1 year, 6 months, maybe 2 years. That's what this is. You are guaranteed to have the IP address for at least 8 days by default. But say I have like so-and-so IP addresses and I have a huge volume of people coming in. Say you work at Starbucks and their Wi-Fi and people are in there all day. If I gave everybody in there an 8-day lease, I could run out of IP addresses fast, right? So I was using a Class C IP address range. I get 200 or so people in there, which is very easy at Starbucks, right? And now your Wi-Fi is not working anymore. No one can get on it because they're getting a PIPAs and there's no internet. Well, maybe you should set your lease for maybe hours, maybe minutes. Like, hey, after 30 minutes, you need to get a new IP address. So when they leave your network, that IP address is available again for you to make money off of and make someone lease it. So in your notes, default is 8 days. Microsoft's default DHCP lease is 8 days. When we look at this later, it'll be like I think it's in minutes. So it tells you have this many minutes of a lease, which is crazy, but it must be easier for a computer to understand minutes than days. So I'm going to hit next. And this is just, hey, is this what you want? We do want to configure these options. So if I have specific DNS servers I want people to use so they can actually talk to my Active Directory, all that stuff that we set up manually when we did our static IP address, you want that set up here. So when that workstation turns on, like what you're sitting at right now, it works. So yes, I want to configure these. Wins won't be an issue because that's legacy. We don't use wins anymore. But we'll go next. So my router or our gateway, right? Our routers connect us to different networks that are outside of our network and allows us to communicate with them. Pretty much your modem is pretty much just a fancy router too, right? Your modem just connects you to the WAN outside of your network and lets you get stuff from the internet back to you. So for us, we said that it was going to be 10.0.0.1, right? Because we told us, hey, later on, we might put a NAT server on our DC1 so that it can actually transfer internet from outside our network to inside our network. So we have internet to our machines. Right now, that's a bad thing because we don't want to go through the whole download upgrade storm that we get. So I'm going to hit add for that. So now it'll automatically put that into their network settings. So if we go to a computer, it gets a DHCP IP address automatically from our DHCP server. We should have a gateway number in there now that we don't have to put in. We always add more later and edit this later. So I'm going to go next. And this next one is the most important one, DNS, right? So now when they connect to the computer, see it says parent domain at the top. So, you know, when we put our mouse over down here and it says what domain we should be on, that's where it gets that from, is from the DNS. It says, hey, this is where you should be. Right now, we just get unknown network or network 2 if we're not domain joined. Now it should say that if they're getting it from our DNS IP, our DHCP, assigning it, this should be information it gets and fills in the blank. By default, since it knows I have a DNS server on this computer, it put 10.0.0.1. But we have another one, don't we? So we can actually put the name here. So that's why I used easy names. We say DC2, we can do resolve, and it filled it in automatically. Or I can just put the IP address in right there, since that's pretty easy to remember in the first place. Just don't forget to hit add. So now we have a primary and a secondary DNS. The major reason why we have those, say .1 is offline. Well, they know to talk to .2 to authenticate still. Now, if they're both offline, we're in trouble, right? So I'm going to hit next. So just remember, when we filled out our network, when we're doing static IP, when we're actually on the actual servers that had these, we told them, hey, if I'm getting it for myself, we put local loopback, right? We did 127.0.0.1. We don't want to put that here because that computer is just going to try to talk to itself and it doesn't have DNS on it. So our 2 DNS servers we have are .1.2. So I'm going to hit next. We don't have a Win server. This is legacy. This is before we're using DNS. This is before we're doing DHCP. We used to use Wins, and we don't use that anymore. So there's really no issues here. We're not going to use it. So I'm just going to hit next. And right now it says, yes, I want to activate the scope. If I say no, it'll be red over here and it won't be turned on and it won't be handing out IP addresses. So make sure you have yes and then hit next. Right here it says, hey, complete, hit finish. Cool. So you'll see right here, it's got a question mark. Just give it a little bit and it should eventually go poof and start working. Also see, it does say 10.0.0.0. So it does know our network is 10.0.0.0, even though we told it .1, right? So it knows where that actually the beginning of that class A starts. So it doesn't look like it's ready yet. It's got exclamation points, but you can right click, you can go refresh and give it a little bit of time. See, now it's got a green check mark. That means it's working, should be working properly. Now, if I come over to scope, it's named workstations. When someone gets an address, it's going to be in between these, right? So we left out 10.0.0.1. See how that's red to .0.255, and we're handing out our address range for distribution is the .0.0.1 and .0.1.255, and we left everything before .1. Anything's .0 we've left out, so we can statically assign those to our servers. The good thing is when we start up a brand new server now, it'll get a workstation IP address, which means we can do our setup, we can join the domain and everything, and then we go in and set up a static IP. We will be on here, we won't have internet, but later on we can have a wsus server, which will be the one after we do WDS, which we'll probably do tomorrow. We're already at 10:05. Whoever actually has an IP address, this is our leases, this is our tenants right here. So if someone's having an issue, they're in here, you can click it, delete it. Hey, tell them, hey, do a release and renew. That's what it's doing. It's releasing the IP address from this DHCP server and then asking for a new one. It's ACK and then acknowledge, hey, thank you for the new IP address. If you see this getting slammed here, it'll have the computer name and their MAC address in here. So you can very quickly see who it is and ban their MAC address from talking to anything on your network. So you're not getting acknowledgements anymore from them. You'll learn more about that in the Server Plus class. And then our reservations. We don't have any right now. But that's another way where we could make it so you don't hand out IP addresses, and a specific computer will get those IP addresses. So when there's something here in a lease, you could right click on that computer and say reserve. So it's pretty much the same thing you can do on a router or on a managed switch. Is you can click on someone on and say, hey, I want this computer to always have this IP address, and they'll never hand that IP address out to a computer unless it has that MAC address specific to that computer. Now, you can spoof MAC addresses, so that's not 100% secure, but it might make your job easier setting up servers in case if it resets or it's a virtual machine, making sure it always has the proper MAC address in an IP settings. Man, I wish I had COVID, then I have a reason for coughing. Hey, look at that. It says domain.local now on my network. How cute is that? That was on my real computer. You guys know where that popped up? So that wasn't in this virtual machine or on my host. That was the real computer over here. So that popped up because I have an internal switch, right? So my host computer actually has a network card attached to that internal switch, and it just got its first IP address from that. So if I come over here to my address leases and right click and refresh, look at that. My actual computer is attached. And it got a 10.1.0. Pretty cool, huh? Now, if I put server manager on my actual computer I'm sitting at right now, or I guess it is my host computer, but yeah, the host computer on there, since it's all running on that, I could actually manage it with server manager on that host computer if I domain join that. Now, there was another one where you went in there where you had to go in there and tweak some settings so you could do it. I'm not going to do that because you didn't use certify, and half the time it doesn't work anyway. So, but if you join the domain, go to server manager, I can manage all these computers now from next. Now I'm on their network. Sometimes you have issues because I might try to talk to the wrong network card. So you have to go in there and hard set some stuff and some setup files, some setup text files that are in there. So I could reserve that too. I can say, hey, I want this computer to always have this. Add to reservation. Excuse me. That's what I was just talking to. So if I click this, that computer is always going to have that. So lease converted successfully to reservations. Hit OK. Let's see what it says over here. Refresh. It says reservation active right there. So this computer is not going to have an expire on its IP address, and it's now reserved. Does anyone else need to take a break right now, or keep going and finish it? You want to take a break? All right, let me control all out of here, and let me just pause it so this doesn't go forever. Okay. So I think we kind of know officially that that worked, that our DHCP worked, because I had that pop up on the host computer here. But let's just double check that. Let me put this back in exclusive. I'm going to minimize DC1 for a second. I should be able to ping DC1 from my host now. So let's see when this turns on. Wakey wakey, PowerShell. Hey, look, there's DC1. There's its IP address. Kind of cool, huh? This is my host computer talking to it. If I do, I should have 2 IP addresses on this. So I have the 10.0.1.0 and I have my 172.17.0.71 right there. Hey, my default gateway 10.0.0.1 subnet mask. It's not going to show my DNS, but if I add /all to that command, now I have them. 10.1 and .2 right there. And all my other information on that network, domain.local. So, hey, I know it's all working, right? And I just did a mic check kind of, right? Can I see you? Can you see me? Hey, we good. We good. So now that we have our first requirement, we need a DHCP for it to work anyway, right? We now have a functional DHCP and I reserved my lease right there. So that's my host computer. I reserved a lease, and my host computer will always have the IP address when it gets one from here, unless its MAC address changes. So we should be good. So let's get to the next step, WDS. So I'm just gonna go up to manage. I'm also gonna put that on DC2 because I want DC1 just to be dedicated to Active Directory and doing nothing else. So I'm leaving that with nothing on it. I'm gonna put everything on DC2 because it's kind of our backup now. In practice, we'd probably want to do the DHCP on its own server that's not on a DC server. So we could mash it up with WDS because WDS is only going to be used when you're actually deploying stuff. When you're not deploying stuff, it's probably not going to be taking up any resources because it's not being used. So we could put DHCP and WDS on the same server. But that way, if I need to take those servers down or make a change to them, it doesn't take down DC1 or DC2, or vice versa. If I need to work on DC2 and update it, it doesn't get rid of WDS and DHCP. DHCP is kind of important, right? So we can also do failover. There's other ways we can do DHCP on another server and everything. So I could put DHCP also on DC1 and have them do a round robin where I hand out an IP address, you hand out an IP address. I hand out one, you hand out one, or load balancing. Those are more advanced. When we did 410, 411, 412, that was in the 411 class. So again, right now we're doing fundamentals. So it's more of a know of, not how kind of course, but I'm showing you how. So hopefully that helps. So our next one that we want is our WDS. So if I go from this way, we know we can go from here and get to it and select the one we want. I can also just right click on the server here and say add roles and features. If I do it this way, it should automatically have it selected when I go to the screen to select. So if I hit next, see it's already selected DC2. So I can just hit next. Now we're using WDS, which is second from the bottom. And the one after that, what we're going to do probably, hopefully today or tomorrow, is the Windows Server update services. So we're not doing that now, but that's how we can handle updates and not have to worry about Windows blowing our machines away on us. So we're going to do the WDS. And it says the following tools are required to manage this feature, but do not have to be installed on the same server. So I can install that on that server, but I can have the management tools only on this server. What would be a benefit of that? Nobody? Save space. Say someone sits down on that computer and they can't just like go on there, click on it, and start messing around with it either. So it's the services there, but you can't manage it from there. So security, less space, if that's its only job. Why does it need it if I can manage it from the one computer designated to manage all computers? So here I'm gonna hit add. I'm also gonna have to add this to my DC1, these tools, so I can manage it. In this case, I'm just gonna say add features in case something goes wrong. And then I will hit next. And I don't think there's too many more. Yeah, right here, it has to do deployment server and transport server. It needs both of these to work. So I will hit next. You can read more into this when you're doing it if you want to read this part right here. And then restart if needed. I don't remember if it does or doesn't need to be restarted, but I will anyways, because this has a very bad tendency to break. By that, there's a thing that says you have to open this up this way first before you even open up its management tool. So I'll show you that in a second when it shows it. I'm going to go install. It shouldn't take too long. Shouldn't. I mean, I shouldn't set any hopes or any expectations, but hey, I just did. Okay, it looks like it's done. So let's get in there and set it up. So I'm gonna hit close, and there should be something that says it needs to do up here. There should be. It didn't do it though. I'm gonna tell that computer to restart again, just because it's not giving me that. So I'm gonna say restart that. And while that's restarting, I'm gonna add the tools to manage it on this computer. So he's restarting right now. So I'm gonna come up to my manager. I'm gonna add my tools for this. So I'm back to add roles and features. Next my way through it. DC1 is the one I need the tools. I don't need the service. Just go next to features, and they're all in the same spot. So if you really wanted to cheat, you could just be like, just check that box right there. I could check that box. Check everything under the hood here, you know. Whee! That might take forever though, huh? Well, you just get the ones we need, which we need the Windows Deployment Services, which is at the bottom of this one. So I'm gonna hit next, next, and install it. I'm just doing the tools, so I don't need to restart this one. It's just so I can manage DC2 WDS. Now, there's no way we're gonna get wsus today. Well, looks like it's coming back online. It says it's offline. So, and again, I don't need this. I don't need to look at that. I can close it. It won't affect anything. It says you can close this wizard without interrupting running tasks. And it'll tell me up here. See, I had a refresh fail. How you like that? Microsoft programmed it. That says WinRM issue. There shouldn't be a WinRM issue, but we'll see when it comes online all the way. There we go. And when this tool is done, I will go and we'll start setting up WDS. So did you guys do a WDS exercise in uCertify? So if we're getting installed on our network, what's one thing we need? So what do you think we'll need if we're going to try to install an operating system across the network? What was our very first exercise? Yeah, the first one we did together. Day one. No. That was Windows 10. So day one that we did on the ones that we're doing right now. You need it. Yeah, you need it. Go get it. We need media. We need something to install from. So we're going to need to get the media somewhere on DC2 so we can use that to deploy across the network. So again, we need it. We need to get it. So we'll probably just mount the ISO to the DVD drive of that virtual machine. So it looks like that's good. That's good. That's done. So I'm going to close this and I'm going to go to tools. And now I should have Windows Deployment Services Server. So when you're going to shut this down, like if you're actually going to turn services on and off, it's going to say Windows Deployment Services Services. Confusing. Everything looks good so far, but the wizard didn't open. Did you guys not do the wizard anymore? What's going on here? Weird. Usually the wizard pops up in here. Okay, so at this point, it didn't automatically add the server to it. So let's check really quick if we can get it to automatically add it. So I'm going to right click on DC2 and I'm going to go to it from this window here. So now it's at the bottom of this list. Let's see if it pulls it into here. Now it looks like, nope, it's still not doing it. So we're gonna have to manually add it to this. I think there's a flag on the other end that we're gonna have to do. So let's just look at it directly. So I'm not going to actually go through it through Hyper-V. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to go to remote desktop connection right here. And that should remote me into it. It should automatically put my credentials and everything and get me into it. So here we go. I'll say, remember me. Because I have a bad feeling there's a flag up on there that's not showing up on this computer right now. Because it should have said, you know, like how we had the commit Dhcp. There should be something similar to that unless they changed it in 2022. There we go. So now I'm actually on DC2. I don't know why it says other user though. That's pretty funny. So the server, more than one person can remote into it at one time. You just have to have different user accounts. So if I come up to the top here and drag this bar over, see behind it, there's DC2. So they both use a remote connection. It's weird, right? But I'm in a virtual machine, remote and into another virtual machine on the other virtual machine. Confusing yet? It's only fake if you know it's fake. It's like going to a restaurant and ordering crab dip and it's really just imitation crab, which is just Pollock fish with egg. All right. So that's because we've shut it down a few times. It's asking me, why did you shut me down? I don't care. Go away. So I'm guessing when the server manager pops up, there's going to be an issue. That's working. That's nice. But we'll see. If there's not, then we'll just carry on and add it to the other one. But usually there's a flag. That, no, it didn't. Okay. There's no way that Night Rider is already done. Really? Nothing. Okay, maybe there's no flag. All right, I'm going to close the remote connection to it then. Goodbye. Cool. Okay. So we're gonna have to add it manually. For some reason, it doesn't do it on its own like it used to. So I'm just gonna go back to Windows Deployment Services tool, under Tools. And under Server, we're gonna right click and say Add Server. Another computer. If I hit Browse, it should give me a list. So if I do, I can just type DC and do check name. Nope, it's gonna want the full name. Oh, it did bring it up. So I can click DC2 right there if I don't know what it was. Hit OK, and then OK. Now it's here. And it has server is not configured. That's what I was looking for, but it wasn't showing it when I logged into it. Weird, right? So if I right click on it, there's configure server. So I'm going to click on configure server and go next. Now see, there's two options here. It says integrate with Active Directory and we have standalone server, which means it does not actually have to have Active Directory. But if you go here, it says it requires Active Directory. So it's confusing. It does require that you have your hard drive must be NTFS. That's for setting security at the file system level. So that's the one major feature that makes NTF different than most is all your securities and permissions are set at the actual file system, at the structure of it. So we must have an active DNS server on your network. Don't come over here and interrupt me right now. And the server must have Active Directory on the top one, but the other one doesn't say that. So let's carry on. Next. So we are integrating with Active Directory because we've already been through all that. So we'll hit next on there. And this is just where it's going to save it. So this does not like you saving on the same drive that your operating system's on. So you look at the top, the remote installation folder will contain boot images, install images, Pixie boot files, and the Windows deployment services management tools. Choose a partition that is large enough to hold all of the images that you will have. This partition must be an NTF partition and should not be the system partition. Well, we only have the system partition here, right? So put in your notes that it shouldn't be on it, but for class purposes, we're going to put it on it, okay? It's just going to say, hey, I don't like this, but then again, we're going to tell it, you might not like it, but it's what you're going to get. So in best practices, add another hard drive or make a new partition and then put it on it. We could do that. We could just come on down and partition the drive and put it on that partition, but we're already chopping up a hard drive, putting our main virtual machine on it, another virtual machine, and then a virtual hard disk on a virtual hard disk on a virtual machine and a virtual machine. I don't know what could go wrong if we do that again, but hey, let's not press our luck. So I'm just gonna hit next. It says the same thing. The volume selected is also the Windows system volume. For best performance and data reliability, the remote installation folder should be stored on a separate volume and where possible on a separate disk from the system volume. Do you want to continue? Yes. It says, I don't like it. You shouldn't do this, but you can. We're going to. You let me do it. You gave me an inch. I'm taking the whole damn yard. Going next. So this one right here says, you can use these settings to define which client computers this server will respond to. Known clients are the clients that have been pre-staged. When the physical computer performs a Pixie boot, the operating system will be installed based on the settings that you have defined. So right here, it says, select the following options. Do not respond to any client computers. Is that something we should do if we're going to use this to respond? We're going to install on someone? Probably defeats our purpose, right? But later on, if we don't want WDS to work, we can flip that on so it's turned off when we're not using it. We can respond only to known client computers. Well, our system and our domain needs to actually know those computers before we do it. They've had to have been staged before and actually in our database. So that's not good either. We don't want that because they're not going to have names or anything at this point. They're brand new computers. So that's a negative. We will put respond to all client computers, known and unknown. That way we put a new computer on here, we Pixie boot it, and we just put in our credentials and start installing and walk away from it. Again, WDS is light touch installation, but we're going to need a high touch media to set this up later. So I'm going to check that. This other one says requires approval for unknown computers. When you select this option, you must approve the computer using the pending device node in the snap-in. Approved computers will be added to the list of pre-staged clients. So they'll pop in, you'll log in and go, okay, are you approving this or not? That means you have to log into here when you want to do a bunch of computers and say approve, 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 approve. We don't want to do that today, right? We just want to work on it from where we're working on it. So I'm just going to leave that not checked, but that's what that's there for. I will hit next and it should ask me, hey, do you want to pick your media? So I'll probably have a problem picking my media at this point. Can anyone think why? You can guess. You can blurt it out. Close. How are we going to get our media into this machine? Because we did this off of a parent image. We used a child, right? We don't have a DVD drive attached to our virtual machine yet, do we? So we can either download it into it, which is going to take up more space, or we can use what we already have and mount that from outside to that virtual machine. So we're going to have to add a DVD drive via the SCSI controller. And then there'll be a physical DVD drive in its drive, and we'll be able to just pick the two WIM files we need, install.wim and boot.wim. So it says this service did not respond to the start or control request in a timely fashion. So it timed out, and the part that should have came up next did not work. So I just got a Windows bug right there. So I'm going to hit finish, and it's got all this. So it's going to make me do everything manually now. It should have had a window pop up that was a wizard and said, do you want to find your beginning media to start with? And all you have to say is, hey, look at my D drive, and it would find everything for you. So I guess we're gonna have to do it manually now. So since I know I need a media, I don't have an ISO on here to grab those WIM files off of at this point. I could also have them on the network. I could have it shared, mounted and shared, and grab them that way, but that's gonna be slower. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna minimize DC1, and also to make it faster, I'm gonna mount it to DC2, because I don't want to mount it on the computer I'm on right now, because that's, again, that I have to go across the network to it and take time. So I'm going to minimize that really quick. I'm going to right click on my DC2. I can do this one that's running. It won't break anything. I'm going to go to settings on DC2. On SCSI controller, I'm just going to click on that and click on DVD drive and hit add. And now I'm just going to say an image file, and I'm going to go browse, and it should be right there. So the 203 one, that's the one for that. This other one's our Windows 10 one, which we'll probably do that too. We probably want to be able to push Windows 10 and push servers, because once we're done setting up servers, we're probably only be pushing out workstation computers, right? What's bad about this is it only does Windows. You can't do any other operating systems unless you kind of hack a little bit, make it think it's Windows. Another free software to do all this is a program called Clonezilla. That by far is much better than this, because I can capture any hard drive and distribute it bit for bit. And it uses torrent protocols. So if you have a lot of computers where some are faster and some are slower, those can also broadcast the same files and get bits and pieces from all the computers on your network instead of just the one that's broadcasting. So if one's falling behind, they can, hey, can someone else give me this system? I already missed it on the other one, and it'll fill in the blanks, kind of like a reverse defrag. So I'm going to pick the 203 and hit open on it. And it's blue, so it hasn't done it yet. But now when I hit apply, it should be mounted to the DC2. I'm going to go back into my DC1, and hopefully it's going to show up as something I can select. So this one that says install images, that's the one we want to be in and right click on. But just like before, if I right click, I've already dropped it, haven't I? If I didn't drop that yet, these would be all blocked out on me. So make sure you drop it like that first so you can do it, because like if I right click on images, drop the arrow down and then do it, looks like it's working in here. So if it does do before, just know if it is graying stuff out, hit those down arrows. So I'm going to go to install first, and I'm going to right click and say add image. Here we can create an image group. I'm going to just call this one servers. So later on, if we have more server images that we capture, put in here, we customize one, maybe we clean one up and get rid of all the drivers we don't need, so it takes up less space, we can do that. So I'm just going to call this servers. That's just the group name, like a folder or an OU, an organizational unit. I'm just going to go next, and then file location. Hopefully this lets me see the DVD drive on that computer. We'll find out. It's showing this computer, so I might need to just do it that way, but let's see. If not, I'll just remote over to the other one really quick, or just log into it normal, because I don't want to waste too much time on this. Yeah, it's not showing on that computer, which is it used to. Fun. Or let me just put it on this one. I can do that too. So the same thing we just did. I'll take this to DC1, and I'll do it on that one too, just so it's in here. So just like before, I click on that, DVD drive, add, image, browse, same one, open, apply, okay. So now it should be in this one. It might get angry with me. I might have to hit refresh. Oh, it's right there. So when you open up the DVD drive and all your stuff, you have boot, you have your EFI stuff for booting off of it for your UFI systems, your sources where everything is. So in sources, we're going to have our two images. We have the boot WIM and the install WIM. Right now I'm doing install. So I'm going to click on the install WIM and say open, and then next. And now it shows us all our options, right? But it's going to word them different. Now it only tells us which one's core. It doesn't tell us which one has the GUI, right? Even though this is the same one that we installed off of earlier, where it only told us desktop experience, and the core one just said data center, right? So we know that we're not going to use standard, right? We're not using standard. We're just going to use data. So I don't need to put those. I don't need to waste something I'm not using. So I don't need 4 options, but we're probably going to use core, and we're going to use the data center because we have unlimited virtual machines we can run inside of those. So we're going to leave those 2 right there. And I'm just going to hit next. Again, I'm just doing the data center, a data center core. Here it says verify. My voice is my passport. Verify. We'll hit next. So now it's going to add those to it. So I'm going to have my actual, this is what actually get, this is the image of the operating system to get the image is your hard drive. This is what gets dumped on it. we're going to need to do the boot one so it can actually boot into an install environment and actually unpack this on your hard drive. So that's what the boot images are. Sometimes the boot images don't work and they have issues. Sometimes you have to use an older boot image from an older version of Windows because for some reason the new ones don't want to get pushed properly through it. We'll find out what happens today. The good thing is on that evaluation website, that goes all the way back to 2012 R2. So you can get those all those older ISOs from there. If you run into that problem in the field. Looks like this is going fairly fast, so I won't fight it. And you see those pinned in devices right here. So that's where if you're like, okay, I'm gonna have to authorize it before it actually does it automatically. That's where you'd have to go in there, stage it, and then come over here and say authorize, authorize, authorize. A lot of times this multicast transmission fails. So it does not like multicast. And then drivers is where we can store all the drivers for all of our different computers. So that it'll automatically push those drivers. If the install media doesn't have it by default, then you can have them in there. So it has a different drivers folder where to look in there to find drivers for your system so they can actually boot up and run. So we're just about ready to hit finish. It's like, are we there yet? It says no. Come on, come on, finish. All right, cool. So now I have those both here. And if I don't like how this named them, which I don't, I'm going to go to properties. And here I can rename it. So I can say Windows Server 2022. It says Server Data Center Core. How about we just abbreviate that? Server Data Center Core. Or SDC works, right? I'll just apply that. Now it just says SDC. I was going to call this SD. You don't have to do this. I'm just doing it for me. And you can also see here's the version 10.0.20348. That's the operating system version. That's the real operating system version of these. That's where Windows 10 comes from, version 10. So we got that. Now we need the boot image. We're gonna do the same thing with boot image. We're gonna right click, go add the boot image, go to browse. And we're already in that directory. And I'm just gonna click on boot and hit open. From here, I'm gonna say next, next, next. This one shouldn't take very long. And as I say that, it takes very long. There we go. Just calling me a liar. I had to acknowledge that I could be wrong. But I was right. Cool. Finish. So that's good. This is our boot image. This is the very first one we're going to be able to select. And that's it. Now you see right here how it has a stop symbol on it right now. It means it's not running. So what I want to do is right click on this. Go to not properties. All tasks and click start. If everything works smoothly, this should start and it should be working. At this point, our magic pixies should be good to go. So I am going to minimize DC1. And I'm going to see if this works. So I'm going to come over here to new. Virtual machine. Next. I'm going to call this core. Read only domain controller. 1. Wonder why I named it that. Gonna hit next and do generation 2. Gonna do next. I'm gonna do this 4096 again. I'm gonna hit my number lock first. What? Did you really just turn it off? Jesus. The one time it was actually on. I'll use dynamic memory again. I don't know why I did 20. 40. All right, there we go. Next, I need to do this on internal. Why? Because the other two servers are on the internal, they're not on the external, right? So I won't be able to test my WDS if I'm not on the right network, right? Now I'll probably have to switch it later to activate it. I'll hit next. I actually do want this one to make its own hard drive. I'm just gonna leave everything default to keep it simple, stupid right here. So I'm just gonna hit next. I'm not gonna be using a parent image at this point. And install an operating system from bootable. Nope, I'm installing from the third option, which you guys have not used yet. Install an operating system from a network-based installation server. That's what our WDS, that's our magic pixies right there. I'm going to hit next, and I'm gonna hit finish. So I do wanna change a couple things in there though, right? What's the first one I wanna change? Hint right there. Which one do I want to change? Yes. We don't have that much RAM, right? That's a lot of RAM. Now, Core uses a lot less RAM than GUI. And then we're gonna add another processor just so we don't run this into the ground. And that should be all the changes that we need to make. We don't need to change boot because we're actually booting firm network. I'm going to hit apply and then okay. And I'm gonna connect first. Because I might have to hit F12 to boot from network. I'm gonna make this full screen the best I can. There we go. Now it says start in Pixie over IPv4. Hit enter. It said 10.0.0.2 right there. Really quick, but it did. So now I'm loading files off. This is why I don't want us to do this all together and why I made it so you guys can hop on it. Because this would take forever if we're all doing this at the exact same time. So you guys will be fairly staggered when I release your systems to do this. So this first one is going to be the actual Pixie deployment, where it's going to ask me for my credentials. Can I go full screen yet? Come on. Thank you. Now, here's something that's kind of annoying. Windows deployment service client functionality is being partly depreciated. Please visit https:// blah, blah, blah for more details on what is depreciated and what will continue to be supported. This is Microsoft saying, hey, we're going to Me Too you into the cloud. And we actually want you to do everything with our Service Center Configuration Manager, which costs a few $1,000s, which is not included with your servers. We don't want you to use the stuff that is included when we could charge you for something else to do the same thing. So that's what they're telling you right there. So English, US, we're picking our keyboard layout like normal, but see right here, it says Windows Deployment Services, which means you should know you're installing off of our WDS, or my stupid name, Magic Pixies. And here it's going to ask for credentials. You see at the very top there, how does it want me to type my credentials? Ironically, you can type it almost exactly how they have it there, but just how we named it today. So enter your username in the format domain /user. So your domain BIOS name right here. So remember I mentioned I have my own domain server that's blocksofknowledge.com. Well, I don't want to type blocksofknowledge /administrator. So I changed my net BIOS name to BOK. So all I'd have to do for authentication here is type BOK /administrator. Vice versa, the other one, I would have to type administrator@blocksofknowledge.com. So we named our server domain.local. So this first one would work. We could do domain /user, or in our case, administrator. Or we could type administrator@domain.local, not .com. Now, I did find something out recently that I don't even have to type that .com at the end. I don't do that designator. So I just did administrator@domain, unless they fixed it in this one. And then my user password, and I forgot what I was typing right there. If I do that, for some reason it works. Weird, right? So this should automatically be domain joined after it deploys this and installs it. Will it be? It's usually a 50-50 chance if it actually works. So you see, I did SD and SDC. I changed what it was in there. So I know SDC is server data center core, and this is just a regular server data center with the GUI. I'm going to do the core because I named this one core read only domain controller 1 or RODC1. I'm just going to click on that, and this should be fairly fast. Down here, it has the description of the full thing, server data center core right there. So I'm going to hit next. Pick the only hard drive I have here, and that's it. It's going to take care of the rest. Now I can go to the next computer, boot it up, do the same thing. Go to the next one, boot it up, do the same thing. Now that one software I was telling you about, Clonezilla, you can tell it start broadcasting after 20 computers are waiting. So I can load all these computers up, and if I do Pixie boot, I don't even have to put credentials. It'll automatically boot in the Pixie and say pending. Once that very last computer joins, you'll see all their screens go deploying, and they start installing instantly. And it looks like I have my meeting right now. So I am going to pause the recording and you guys can take a break. All right. So it's done. I'm going to hit X because I don't want to do that. I'm curious if it's domain joined. So I'm going to come up here to view exclusive. So I'm not looking at it like this. I'm going to go check on the DC1 really quick. If it is domain joined, I will be very happy. Active Directory users and computers. And then and it's not on here, but is computers on here? I don't see anything on here. So, sure. I think he makes more money than me. So I don't think it actually domain joined, guys. So let's log into this really quick. Control Alt Delete. We'll be done shortly. The user must change the password. I know. Hey, I hit enter. There we go. So it didn't do it. I was hoping it would do it. Password you entered did not match. Who knew I was going to do that? I guarantee you the checkbox does say join domain automatically, but it didn't do it. We'll take this to the full screen. So since we just did a clean install, I know Pixie boot kind of works, but I know I always have problems with domain anyways, automatic domain join. So I'm not going to expect it to work ever. So worst case scenario, I got a domain join it myself. So I do want this to activate though, right? So I'm going to go through the checklist that we all know about, but we're going to do it on this one. So first one, we probably want to check. We know we're not activated. We don't even need to look. We know we're not because we don't have internet, right? So I don't need to look at that, but I can do from top to bottom. I could change my computer name. I could do the domain, remote management enabled. We also want to double check that. There's some stuff hiding under that one too. So, but very first, date and time, right? I'm gonna hit 9 and go to 9. Very complicated, right? We've never done it this way. This is so hardcore right here. Never done this ever. Hit okay. Okay, now I know I have the right time zone. I'll probably rename the computer and join the domain at the same time, which we can do on this one because it'll actually do it in the proper order. We can't do updates, install. We probably want to fix our remote desktop. So let's do 7. Our remote desktop status disabled. I'm going to say E for enabled, right? And then it's going to say the same thing when we're doing those checkboxes. Just one's already pre-checked, right? Allow client running on remote desktop with network levels authentication, more secure. All we need to know is one says more secure, one says less secure. So we probably want to be more secure, right? 1. Now I can remote into this and copy it. Hit enter to continue. It'll bring me back to the screen. So we can't do activation yet. We can't do install updates. Probably not going to. We probably next we should go the other remote management 4. I click 4. You see something hidden in that list right there besides enable and disable? Exactly, kind of hidden in there, right? We definitely want this to respond to ping so we can check it, right? So we'll say 3, enable that. And it said that it was already checked on the remote management. So it looks like that was good. So let's join the domain. So this is, they have this in a specific order for a reason, which is different than our specific order on the other one. So we'll do 1 first. I'm going to say join a domain. I should have a proper IP address since DHCP did it. So this is testing to make sure DHCP is working too. It wants the name of the domain to join. So it's a domain, right? .local. Let's cough into the mic. Specify an authorized domain /user. What does that mean? That means it wants me to type it. Domain / in my username. Now that's only because our domain is named domain, right? It's actually .local is our real domain, but that's not what we're going to put here. We just need to do the NetBIOS name here and then administrator, right? And then the password. Like I know the password. I don't know what I'm typing. So now it says it's joining the domain. It's also going to ask, would you like to rename your computer? So successfully join domain. Do you want to change the computer's name before restarting? We didn't get this option in the other one because it'll do one or the other, and you don't know which order it's going to do it in GUI. And this, it says, hey, maybe you should do this. So I'm just going to call this read-only domain controller 1, right? Kind of like what I named it up here, RODC1. Hit enter. Password again. Well, it wants the username. Can I do up arrow? No. Oh, what the crap? It's asking for the password. Okay. I thought it was asking for the username again. No, I don't want to restart now. It looks like there's a problem on the username, so let me change that again. Why are you saying the username is wrong? Where's... Oh, I see what I did. That time I didn't ask it like the last one. All right, let's fix that. Computer name, RODC1. Authorized. It wants me to actually type it this time. Last time it didn't want me to type it. So domain / straighter. I don't see any typos. Now the password. There we go. Now we're good. Yes, I want to restart, and we should be domain joined after this restarts. And we'll double check. Once that's domain joined, I don't have to do everything from over there. So I'm gonna go back to DC1 because I've been using that to manage everything. When this refreshes, it should be in here. See, RODC1 is now a computer on my network. I'm going to see if I can add it here yet. So I'm going to right click on all servers. And I'm just going to hit find when it pops up. I see it, RODC1, so I will add it. Then I should know if it's on all the way. It should say online. That should take a lot less time to turn on than the other one. So on this one, I'm going to want you guys to do a screenshot that proves your WDS works. Okay. I'm not going to give it to you an example because I want you to say, hey, this proves that it works and this is why. Okay. Because when you go over to Yvonne's class, he's just going to say that. Take a screenshot that proves you did this. If you take a screenshot that doesn't have anything in that screenshot that has anything to do with the task he asked you to do, he's not going to take it. So our proof is the proof that WDS actually works. So see down here, it says performance counter not started. It looks like it's working. It's online. I can now manage it from right here and do what I need to it. So I can come over and turn on my performance counter. Now this is proof that it was installed, but this isn't proof that it worked, right? So maybe when you boot in the Pixie boot and it's completed installation, it's installing in there. Maybe as it's installing, you can say, you can take a screenshot that you're into it and you can take a screenshot as it's deploying. And then you can say, here's a final, when it boots up, here's what it shows. So here's proof that it is successfully installed the operating system I told it to. Not a whole lot of screenshots, could be 3 screenshots or whatnot. But as long as you explain why these prove you did it, that's what I'm looking for. So now that that's activated and online, if I wanted to, I can just right click on here and say, hey, I want to go remote desktop connect to it. I can also just PowerShell into it since it's really no difference than regular core, right? So I'm just making sure the remote desktop works right now. It's asking for a password. And now it's saying domain password. Let's see something here. I want to see. There it goes. All right, that's the regular one. So let me come over to view, go back to exclusive mode. So I'm in DC1. I'm remoted in to rodc1.domain.local. It's opening up sconfig automatically as I'm remoting into this. So right now it has a IP address, right? That Dhcp gave it, correct? So if I go to network settings and hit 8, it's going to tell me I have a 10.0.1.1. But we said we're reserving the .1s for workstations, right? So we actually want this to be on a .0, correct? So should we put this on a regular .0.1, or should we give it a special one since we know it's a read-only domain controller? I'll let you guys choose. Do you want to just do like .0.3, or do like a different number where the .1.1 is, and change that .1 like .3, .4, .10? What would make you know this is a read-only? Or is going to be a read-only domain controller? 0 is what we're using for all servers right now. Anyone know the permissions on Linux for read-only? See if anyone wants to Google it. Like, I don't want to Google it. I can give you a hint. If it's a phone number in a movie, it's probably your first digits. In a movie? Yep. 555. But since we can't do 555, we can do 55 though, right? So this can let us remember that 5s for chmod and Linux is read-only permissions. So let's use that. Let's do 10.0.55.1 for our read-only domain controllers. So 555 to us can mean read-only. It's kind of weird, but I'm trying to give you some Linux stuff so these numbers mean something to you later. So right now it says select a network adapter. It doesn't say type in the IP address. It doesn't say type in the description. It says number, the index number. So you see how there's an index. If I have more than one network adapter, it'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want to set it on the appropriate network adapter when we're doing this. We only have one option here. So we're going to do 1. And this tells me, hey, set network adapter address is number 1. Number 2 is set DNS servers. And then number 3, clear DNS server settings in case you want to clear it and set new ones. We're going to do 1 first. Now it says select DHCP, just D, or static is S. So we're going to say, hey, I want to do a static IP, S. Enter the IP address. So we're going to say 10.0.55.1, which is that's outside of our scope. So we don't have to worry about DHCP handing out any numbers in this range either right now, right? I'm going to hit enter. Now it wants the subnet mask. It should already know what it is, but we're just going to do 255.0.0.0. And default gateway we said is our DC1, which is 10.0.0.1. Set it next to static IP. Everything should still work appropriately like this. But it's not going to talk because it still needs the DNS server specified, right? We're going to do DC1, DC2 as we already have. And we should be good to go because we're read only. So it's not going to be a big issue. I'm getting disconnected right now. You know why I'm getting disconnected? You had a lab like this exactly, and you certified that this happened. Why did I just get disconnected? No one knows? I just changed my IP address, right? So now I'm not 10.0.1.1. I'm 10.0.55.1. So it instantly disconnected me from my remote connection because I was connected to this address. But I have a new address now. So I probably want to get rid of this. This is going to be no good anymore. Remove desktop. No, not remote. Remove server. There we go. I'm dyslexic. Don't mind me. Now, since it probably doesn't have the DNS updated yet on this because we never set the DNS, right? I'm going to go back to add server. And I'm going to put it in by IP address. So I'm going to go over to DNS over here, but it says you can do computer name or IP address. I'm just going to do the 10. If my number lock ain't screwing me, there we go. 10.0.55.1. And hopefully it don't get mad at me. I feel like it's getting mad at me right now. Yes, I want to add it anyways because I know that's correct. 10.0.55.1. Yes. And I'll just go okay. So it is going to be mad right now because it doesn't have everything on it over there. And I'm going to see if remote desktop connection is going to let me remote into it now. I expect it to be angry because we never set DNS. So right now it has a blank DNS on it. There we go. I'm just going to say yes here. And I'm right back where I left off in there. So it says press enter to continue. I think I clicked. There we go. I'm gonna go back into there because I probably hit enter too many times. Network settings is number 8. And then number 1 is gonna be my index. And I want to set up my DNS. So number 2. Enter new DNS server. My preferred one is 10.0.0.1. Looking for errors. I'm good. Secondary alternate one. 10.0.0.2, right? Then I can hit enter. Now that should be good to go, but I probably want to restart this so everything knows what's going on. So see at the bottom, it says shut down server. I'm going to do 14. And are you sure you want to shut down? Yes. Of course, that's going to disconnect me from this and I shut it down. So I'm actually going to have to go to my Hyper-V and bring it back online, right? So right now it is off. Right now I'm going to make a checkpoint really quick. Wait, my mouse is getting angry with me. I'm just going to rename it. Domain joined. And I'm going to turn her back on. Gonna open it up so we can see when it's on, and I'm gonna see if I can re-add it now and if it works properly now. All right, looks like it's up. So she angry. She angry. Logging into it on the actual RODC one. The other thing that could be angry now is over here in our DNS. We have RODC one here. It's got 10.0. No, it's got the right DNS right there. See that? It updated it. 55.1. So that's good. See what reverse lookup, if there's anything in there. I don't see anything. So yeah, it looks like we're good there. I don't see any flags. And we'll just double check over here on our computer. Maybe. Did I click on it? There we go. See if there's anything hiding under properties on this one. Nothing looks bad. So maybe let's just hit a refresh really quick and see if it fixes that. If not, we'll do the search really quick. Let me just remove it. They might just be angry with me till I restart this server too. So we'll double check that. So I'll go back to add all servers, add servers. If I do find now, we should see it. Doopy-doo. 2 job notifications. I bet they all say refresh failed. What do you think? Refresh failed. Probably it was probably working that whole time. It just wasn't refreshing it properly. So we'll wait for that to say hello. So now we have our static IP address. We have our DNSs set up on it, right? So since it's supposed to be a read-only domain controller, what do I want to do next to that? Not accessible. Why are you being like this, buddy? Being grumpy with me? Sometimes you have to unjoin and rejoin the domain when it gets angry when you change that stuff, but we'll see. So what we want to do is we want to add an Active Directory domain services to that computer, right? I'm going to see if it's going to work if I actually come through the tools really quick. So I'm just going to go, well, manage, I mean, not tools, add roles and features. And let's see if it'll actually talk to it this way. Nope, it doesn't even show up in there. So let's see, we might have broke our handshake by doing that. So we'll go to domain 1. So you join domain D. So we're already on one, but let's see if we can just type domain without typing the .local. Let's see if we can fix our handshake here. So it looks like it didn't like that, but maybe it fixed the handshake. Of course, it's grumpy. And while I'm waiting for that, let's go back into 8. It's like those are correct. 1. That all looks correct also. Enter if it's blank so you can get out of there. So we might have to do the Windows activation on it because we're missing that, right? So what do I have to do if I want to do the Windows activation right now? I didn't order crickets. How do I activate? What's the requirement? How do I activate? Right now I'm on internal network. External network. Very good. External network. We need internet, right? So since I already have this set up, I'm going to cheat. Okay. So I'm just going to go shut this down. I'm going to shut down properly. I'm going to do a 14. Yes. Once it shuts down, it should be quick. It's a core, so it doesn't take much to shut down. There we go. I'm going to go up to File, Settings, and I'm going to add another network adapter. Network adapter, add. Second one, it says not connected from the start. I'm going to say the Intel one, which is my external. Hit apply. Okay. Turn it back on. So I haven't touched my settings on that other network adapter, but now I have one that should have internet. That's all I need to get this activated, right? Or else I would have to go in there, put the other one on DHCP, do it, and then put it back on a static IP address. I don't want to type all that again, do you? I don't want to. Usually on a server, you have 4 network card connections, 4 Ethernets on the back. So just get in here. And we're gonna check and see if we're activated now, because we know we weren't activated before. Wasn't possible. We didn't have internet from the beginning because we needed to be on the other one. So it's probably activating right now. That's why it's taking a while to boot in the sconfig. Because there's no, I can't click down and say, hey, is my Ethernet working? I don't have anything to put my mouse over to see it, right? Not like this. And sometimes you click in there and you use your mouse and it actually says what it's doing, see? It's waking up. It says, I can't talk to the domain server because I'm not actually connected to it. So you see up here at the top, it says to stop sconfig from launching at sign in, type set dash sconfig dash auto launch $ false. And that'll make it so this doesn't automatically launch it. So I'm going to just go to my updates. The updates is number 5, update settings. Actually, no. Let's do the activation 11. Display license information. This will tell us if we're activated. It says I only have 10 days. That's kind of scary. So it's not activated. So let's go back into there, 11. And we're going to tell it to activate Windows. And it's angry. I'll try it one more time. Or it's in the process of doing it. Or something's broken here. So it's on the grace period. So it looks like it's kind of stuck. So anyone know the command to try to unstick this? Let's see if zoom in works in core. It does. So we're going to use the service license manager command, and we're just going to say rearm. Is that right? Rearm. I'm spelling rearm right? I'll find out. Force. It might get angry. I might have typed that wrong. There we go. Command completely successful. Please restart the system for changes to take effect. So we'll do that. I'll do it the easy way though. So how to get back into sconfig is sconfig. Now I'm back into it. I'm going to restart it. So 13. Yes. And then hopefully it sees the internet and it can rearm itself from that. And it'll be activated when it comes back. So we probably missed our window for it to activate itself. Supplying computer settings, 1146. I don't know why I'm staring at it. I know I have to hit this button right here. And I fat fingered something. I felt it. There we go. Hopefully this time 11 will tell us, hey, it's activated. I'll go to 11. Display license information. Please be activated. Please. 10 days. How rude. It just got mad when I did that one. Or maybe we have something broken on here and we'll just say, hey, it should have done this. Blah, blah, blah. Next. There's also, if you actually have a product key, you can hit 3 and insert your product key here. It feels like it's doing something. Insert, that's what she said, joke here. Let's have an issue somewhere here. So I'm gonna hit enter really quick. I'm gonna 15 this, and I'm gonna do IP config. And we have an IP address out here, so we shouldn't be having an issue. Let's see, can I ping Google? No, I can't. Interesting. All right, let's try something. Control C, kill that. We're doing troubleshooting now, guys. I am just going to take this one. I'm just going to take it not connected right now. Remember, don't make any of those changes when your system's actually running. It can break it. So right now I'm just acting like I took the Ethernet cable out of it. That's what I just did. See where we're hung up on here. I would assume it's file discovery and Sharon causing it. It was working before we added the other one, but now it's grumpy. We just want to activate and get back where we were. So just about time to call it a video. So come on, come on. Oh. Welcome to the world of craziness. You can do it. You can do it. Come on, come on, come on, come on. You do it. Come on. Arrow keys. All right, what do you think? Think it's gonna work this time? Me too. Network settings and no. Activation 11. Please be happy. Please be happy. 180, 180. Come on. 180, not 10, 180. Hey, look at that. We are activated. Woohoo. All right. Acting like I didn't know that was going to happen. Rude. All right, now that we're activated, we can also do updates if we want, but we're not going to play that game for video purposes. I'll do that off camera, or off screen share, whatever you want to call it. So now that we got that, let's shut her down, get her back on the right network and see if she's good to go. So I'm going to do the 14 again. Now that we're activated, that's all we needed to do before it starts pulling updates. Yes, I want to shut it down properly. Once she's shut down, I'm going to come play with this file button right here. Boom, playing with it. I promise it won't fall off. All right. Put this one back on to internal. I can take this one off. I don't even need that one anymore, right? Remove, apply. Okay. Hopefully I didn't remove the wrong one. Crazy how something so simple like that would cause it not to work though, right? I'm pre-cooking something. Pre-cooking. You can't see till it's cooked. You can't smell this yet. WeChat. Hey, go away, WeChat. Bingo. So one other thing that could be causing this problem is network discovery and file and print share enabled, right? Some of you had that problem, some of you didn't have it. You went and turned it on and it started working, right? So that could also be causing, but we don't have the option to just go, hey, turn this on, right? We're in kind of mostly no GUI mode. Unless you step in something, then you got your GUI there. So I'm going to do exit the command prompt, which actually exit the PowerShell and not command. So there we go. So I don't think your stuff went through this. So we're gonna do some net sh commands, and I really don't want to type them out. So I'm cheating and I pre-typed them over here. So let me do cls, enter, cd backslash, then cls, and then we'll zoom in here. So first one is we're going to set a firewall rule to enable network discovery. I'm going to tell it new, enable yes. So the command, I will put it in a second. So I'm going to click right here and I'm going to cheat. And I think I can actually go all the way up to here, edit, and say paste. Maybe it's mad at me. Maybe. You mad at me? Let's see. Paste. You mad at me, eh? Fine, I'll cheat over here. I don't want to type it. I hate typing. You guys have seen me. I can't even type my password. Come here. Come here. There you go. I should be able to do this. Let's see. Or maybe I just didn't copy it. Oh, maybe that's it. Maybe I just goofed. You're going to make me type it? Are you causing the problem? This is frustrating now. I'm gonna have to type it. I don't want to type it. Just let me cheat. Can I type in here? Okay, I can type in here. I should be able to go edit and paste. It's not working. Nice. Okay, I gotta type it. What could go wrong? Me typing? Come on. All right. I said I'm typing here. All right. All right, so it's gonna be netsh space adv. Can I use tab? Is tab gonna work? Tab? No. I gotta actually type it. Firewall, advanced firewall, and then we have to type firewall again. Set rule. Group. Equals. Then we have to do a colon because there's gonna be spaces in here and we want to be one thing. So net work space discovery. Did I spell it right? I hope so. Then space new enable equals yes. If I don't have a typo in there, let me just double check. Firewall set rule, blah, 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 blah. Looks good. Send it. There we go. 19 rules. No red is good. So we have one more. We want to do the print file and print mode. So we also need to do the similar stuff in there. So I'm going to cheat because I already typed this, right? So it says set, this is NSH firewall set service. So can I get rid of it? I can't use much of this. This didn't save me any time really. We'll cheat though. I can at least reuse that firewall. There we go. I feel better. I kind of saved me some time. Except all those deletes I had to type. Service type equals file and print. So apparently I don't have to do the quotes in this one. And then mode equals enable profile equals all. Did I fat finger anything? Find out. I did use the SH advanced firewall before. It worked, but they said, however, you should try this instead. So it worked. We're good. Let's get back to sconfig. And I'm going to see if we can talk to this on DC1 now. DC1, hey, say hello. Hey, hold it. Look at that. Look at that. We good? We like you? We quiet. We asleep? Crickets, crickets, crickets. All right. View, full screen. So right here, online, working, all happy, joy, activated. Let's use this for pass the remote. Because I kind of used all the remote tools in there, right? And I'm on DC1. So in your screenshot, make sure you're on DC1. Show that you're on DC1. It's cool. Don't worry about these. Most of these are just because refresh didn't work. See, refresh failed. Usually that's all that is. Clear it and wait for a better one. So now we're talking properly. So now I could actually add another service to that. I could right click. I can go add roles and features, go next. I can actually click on RODC, hit next. I tell it to put Active Directory domain services on it, add. Once it says, hey, I can go next, 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 install. Like, okay, I'm done with that one, go away. So our next one's gonna actually be on our DC2, which I can do by that other ones because I'm not actually doing it on this computer. So I can say add roles and features. So one of our very last ones is wsus, right? wsus is to update, manage all updates for our entire network. So I'm gonna go next. I'm gonna click on DC2 because we're putting everything on DC2 for now, except the read-only domain controller. And I'm just going all the way to the bottom, Windows Server Update Services. So it says it needs Net Framework 4.8, it needs WCF, it needs a whole bunch of stuff to work, if it works. Usually this doesn't work. So I'm just gonna leave it as is, say add features. Windows Server Update Services allows network administrators to specify the Microsoft updates that should be installed, create separate groups of computers for different sets of updates, and get reports on the compliance level of computers and the updates that must be installed. In other words, it's going to tell me if any computer isn't up to date and have the security updates that says, hey, this needs it. I can also quarantine that computer and say, hey, you can't be on my network until you have these updates, and then throw the updates at it. We're going to use this in its simplest form. So I'm just going to hit next. And then next. And then next. We don't need SQL Server. That's not something we need. It's this first one installs the database used by wsus NWID, and then wsus services is one actually runs the services to do everything that we're going to make it do. This cannot be installed on core because it needs all the GUI stuff to work. This is where it's actually going to store it. So it's best to put like your actual store location in here if you have a share. So we'll probably just do C:\/ updates, and hopefully it'll create that on that computer for itself, and I will hit next. Actually, no, let me go back. I don't want us to download updates. I don't want us to download them. So let's just uncheck that box altogether. Let's not just deal with that. We'll just tell the computers they can pull the updates themselves for now so that we're not having everybody destroy the network. But if you want, you will put, if you want to store all the updates locally, which could be terabytes and terabytes, this will give you a checkbox for every single Microsoft product that was ever made, even discontinued stuff. So we got to be careful with that. For our purposes, for this lab, we're just going to leave that unchecked right there. Here it tells you it needs IIS for this to work. It's already going to automatically do that. And the role, these are all the roles that are already checked. So it picked what it does need, and then confirmation. Just hit restart if needed. It probably will need, and then install. That is now done. I think our other one is done. So, hey, now I can promote that RODC1. I don't even have to log on to it, nothing. It gives me my tools right here. Meanwhile, we're installing this on the other computer. We're multitasking now, right? Oh, I think I just knocked that out of the way. There it is. So we're going to do on the core one. We're going to create that very first, add a domain controller to an existing domain, our very first option here. Once it lets us. And since it's already domain joined, we probably don't need to do any credentials. So I can say select right here. Hopefully it uses, well, it's going to ask me. I lied. Never mind. It doesn't, if I was on it, it wouldn't have a problem with me. It already says domain here, so I don't need to worry about typing at domain.local or domain/administrator. It's already saying it here, so it's where it knows where I'm going. Hopefully, like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Yep, there it is right there. Okay. Now we're good. Domain administrator. Next. This time we're going to use that one checkbox we've never used before. Read only domain controller. Hey, look at this. So it lets me. Soon as it lets me. There we go. Clicky. Nope, not yet. Knight Rider's still going. Stuff's populating right here. Boom. And I'll tell this to read from, nope, default. We only have one site. If we had different site names, we could pick them. So our server 123 at exclamation point. I can barely see my screen. My eyes are messed up right now. I don't think I typed them correctly because it's not. Yeah, that one was wrong. Accounts that are allowed to replicate passwords to RODC. Domain, allow RODC. So it's creating its own group on it where it can actually replicate and do stuff. Accounts that are denied from replicating passwords to RODC. Well, administrator, built-in account, not going to work. So that means anyone that's a local account will not work to do stuff. That's why it's a read only. Think of it like a CD-ROM. Once it's there, nothing gets updated from it. If I change passwords on this domain controller, it will not sync up. It can only have a one direction. It has a one direction relationship. So it can come from the other domain controllers, but it cannot write back to the other domain controllers. Does that make sense? So I'm just going to hit next. I'll leave this as it is. Here, I'm actually going to pick DC2. I'm going to pretend this is deeper into our system and the DC2 was closer than DC1. So I have DC1, DC2 as options here. So I'm going to tell this replicate from DC2 this time and hit next. Same as last time, our default storage locations. See video 1 if you don't know what those are doing. And then next. Now it's prereq, and then I can hit install. See how this server manager comes into play where you don't have to log into that computer and you can just start managing it. We have no error messages. Install. You also see how much faster it is to pre-auth stuff on a core computer. If you don't have all that GUI stuff, you don't have to worry about it slowing it down. Now, for other computers like workstations and everything, say this was on another floor, we could tell it that this is its primary DNS controller. So it talks to this first before it talks to another one. And the purpose of read-only domain controllers is to be at a site where you have no IT management there. You have no admins there. So you don't want the average Joe who thinks he knows computers, Alex, to sit down there and actually mess your stuff up, right? Sorry, I got COVID. I had to release it. You all know that person. Oh, I know what I'm doing. They sit down and they just completely trash their computer. Like, no, stay off my computer. You think you know what you're doing, but you don't. You really don't. The other one's probably already done too. But see, this way I can do as much work from one computer as I want. This could be my Windows 10 computer. It has server manager, so I'll show you that when we do a Windows 10 deployment. I'm not going to do that. Like we have to do screenshots, but I'm going to show it to you when we're done. So I'm going to hit close on this. That looks like it's good to go. I'm still on DC1. So I'm on computer management, right? Yeah, computer management. I don't need that one though. Let me go back to here. So looks like that one's still a work in progress. The wsus. That one takes forever, guys. It takes forever. And this isn't the part that's going to kill you. But I might as well finish off this video doing that so I don't need to do any more videos. I can do like some more that are bonus, but I'm not stuff I'm going to make you do screenshots. I just want you to see it. It'll be beyond the scope of the course, but probably help you in the field. And then if you guys want to bring in your own laptops and turn this entire classroom into a lab where you install like server on that computer, make that a Windows 10 workstation. You want to simulate actually like this has a specific job. We can wipe all these computers and we can do Pixie boots. You know, you set up one computer as your server, your wsus, WDS, and then treat these ones like, okay, I'm logging in. Now that's going to be your workstation, his workstation, connect to it with your server manager and start setting stuff up. So if you want to do that, we can wipe all of these in here and we'll have you actually do it hands-on. You can do hybrid. You can do some in virtual machine. You can do some on the actual computer itself, but to get the experience, you know? So it looks like that's done, my wsus. So if I want to imagine a wsus from this computer, once again, I need the tools, right? So before I do that, wsus is kind of sneaky. You see this where it says launch post installation task? If you don't do that before you open it up, it will break. And then when you click on this, it's like gives you no notification it's doing anything. It just does this little Knight Rider thing instead of a progress. Wait till that is done. Do not try to go to tools and open it up, which I can't because I haven't installed them on this computer yet. But wait for that to finish before you go into it or it will break. And you can't unbreak it. And you really don't want to completely redo that server, which is also another reason why when you build servers, you most likely want to give that server just one service, just one job when you have the ability to do virtual machines. Then if something goes wrong, you only have to build one instead of build every single service we put on that computer. So I'll wait for that to finish up right there. And I'll probably stop this video where I go to where it needs to communicate online. So we know we're going to have to add a network card to that computer. It needs internet. So we'll do it just like the other one. I'll probably have to turn on network discovery and stuff, or I might need to flip-flop the cards and put the static IP on the other one and then put the internet on the primary one on the very first one. Virtual machines are weird where they want it in a specific order or it won't work. So not like you have that option on physical cards, right? They're wherever they are, especially when they're all on board. Where are you going to move them? Or we can continue that tomorrow. But I'd like to just get it so it's done so we can just pick off where that is and say, hey, here's how the wsus works. Carry on. Hurry up. Installed. Good to go. Waiting on you, man. Waiting on you. I can't install the tools while I'm waiting though, so I don't need to waste time. I can install the tools. So I'm on DC1, so I want to install the tools on DC1 because I'm kind of using that as my personal computer. And it only has one job anyways as the Active Directory. I'm not putting other roles on that for that reason. So I want to go to features and in the same spot as last time. So if you're doing your administrator computer, like you have a laptop you run around and you have this on it, just put all the tools on it so you don't have to worry about this later. Come on. Where are you at? Where are you at? See, they don't put these ones in order. See? They're at the bottom on the other list. Let's go next. Restart if needed. It doesn't need to, but I'm just going to make a habit of doing that and install. Is that done? Hey, look, configuration complete. Windows Server update server services on DC2. So that's good to go. So once these are good, I should be able to add it to this management and do what I need. And over here, I got WDS, wsus, IIS, file storage services, DNS, Dhcp, Active Directory domain services. We built an entire network. At least the fundamentals we need to get it started. From here, we can build any size network with what we have. We can manage updates. We can deploy thousands of computers now. So when I have you guys build your own network, you should probably do all this stuff first. But as soon as you have DC1 created and actually have a domain, from that point, everyone should have their own user account. They should have administrative rights, and they can use Server Manager to start setting stuff up in the background as everything else is getting set up. So someone's not just sitting there doing nothing, collecting a paycheck. So what usually happens in these classes is people are just sitting there and one person's just installing and setting up one server at a time when everyone could be doing it at one time. So when we do the plan of deployment and I show you the flow charts and that, say, hey, at this point, we're going to do this and this and this. At this point, we're going to make sure everyone has a user account and is capable of going in there and administering stuff. So my goal is to have you guys know how to do it. And hopefully after I show you how to go through those steps and everything, that you try to use that when we're doing our final, because our final is just the hands-on. My phone just hung up on its own. Suspected spam. Leave a message, buddy. Leave a message. Unless you're my CO2 machine, but you better not show up as spam if you're my CO2. All right, so it looks like this is done, so I can hit close, and now I should have tools. Let me just close that. So now I should have Windows Services Update Services, Server Update Services. That's kind of a tongue twister. Then if you're shutting the service down, it's Windows Server Update Services, Services. Service, yeah. So it's not going to be in here by default. This one I know no matter what, you have to right click and add it to it. So connect to a server. So this one was just DC2. I can just do that. Don't worry about this. We never set up SSL, so it shouldn't be a problem. So before you begin, is the server firewall configured to allow clients to access the server? Should be. Can this server connect to the upstream server? We'll find out. Do you have user credentials to the proxy server if needed? We don't have a proxy server, so we do know we're going to probably need a network card on that computer, right? But let's see what happens. We'll see the error message first. This is just some blah, blah, blahs right here. So synchronize firm Microsoft updates. That's what we're going to do. Or if we have another wsus server in our network, that can pull updates. And then we can pull updates from that server on another server so that one's not handling all the workload. Maybe you have a wsus server on every floor that helps roll in updates between the entire network. So you probably stagger them out. This one controls this floor. This is another floor. Maybe one's only for controlling just the like AutoCAD computers, or one just manages Windows 10. One just manages servers, so that we're not bogging them down with everyone pulling at the same time. So we're just gonna say from Microsoft, this is our very first one, but other ones we can tell them to sync up to this computer if we want. Use a proxy server when synchronizing. No, we're not using a proxy server. And now it says start connected. This is going to error out because it does not have internet. So this right here needs internet if it's going to talk to the Microsoft Windows Update server, right? So I should fairly quickly have this give me an error message here. I'm expecting it. Now, if it gives me an error message after I have internet on this, then we're having a problem, right? I should be able to add a network card to it without breaking it, but I don't want to remove it and without turning it off. So I'm going to wait for this to error out, do it. And then this is probably where we're going to stop this video, because even with internet connection, this takes hours to complete sometimes right here. And we'll just to be continued on the next video. Okay. Unless it's trying to work. I don't think we have another card on DC2. Yeah, we don't have another card on it. So this should error out right here. I'm just gonna hit stop and see if it actually stops. There we go. Yeah, there an HTTP error occurred. And this is the error you should expect to see if it's having internet issues. So I'm gonna hit OK. Now I'm gonna try and see if I can break mine. I should probably do a checkpoint before I do it, huh? Who wants to play it safe? Not me. What's safe? Here, I'll play it safe. There we go. Go to settings. I'm just going to add a network adapter. It's the only one I can do when it's running. And I'll put that on the Intel. And hopefully this doesn't break anything. All right, it's in the process of doing that checkpoint. I'll wait for that to finish. There it goes. So it's talking about a production checkpoint. That means run, taking checkpoints as things are running. So now I could probably apply this. There we go. Hopefully it'll work this time. And just to double check, I'm going to log into it right here. And just make sure that card's working. Yeah, it says it has internet and domain, so it should be working. Doesn't mean it is, but it should be. And I don't need RODC open anymore right there. So at this point, we can stop this, and I will pick up this video tomorrow, because this even if it is working, this is going to take forever. So I'm going to control out of here, and I'm going to pause this video, and we will pick up tomorrow. I'm going to stop the recording. So have a wonderful day.